today we're going to be talking about an important topic, easy and efficient meal planning. And this is something that is certainly becoming more and more needed for families, or even if you're, you don't have too many people at home, you're on your own, or it's a smart way of ensuring that you're eating properly. I literally just got off a call about self-care, and we talked a little bit about this rule of 80-20. 80% of the time, try to quote unquote behave or think, have a bit of self-awareness of healthy choices in our food and diet, and 20% of the time, definitely enjoy what you want to enjoy. So any nutrition or health promotion speaker, we're not wanting to sway anybody into doing something they're not comfortable with. My goal, just like any presentation, is to share with you some ideas, and then hopefully give you a couple of ideas and nuggets along the way. And then those are the things that we hope that you'll start to implement. So we'll get into some of this stuff today. Some of it will be possibly reminders. Some of them might be interesting for you as we kind of dive into this topic. So we'll just double check that everything is working and everything is recorded. Perfect. So we are recording this, so you will have access to this after today's session, and we'll make sure that you know where that is. So really 4 objectives today over the next 45 minutes or so. Again, some insights into meal planning and why it's important. We have a guide that I think is important to discuss. We also have some steps to meal plan properly and really feeling successful about that. There are certain wins that we want to kind of hold on to, and if we know that we have our plan ready to go and we're not scrambling for what are we going to have for supper or what are we going to do for meals, it can give us that feeling of, like we did it, it's a bit of a success. So there are 7 steps to success. We'll talk about that. And then we also have some tools and some support that we'll provide at the end. So some things that you can look into, some different apps, that sort of thing. So we definitely will be able to give you more information as we go. So again, just a very high level look. Why meal planning is important. Saves a lot of money. If you're not needing to go to the grocery store every single day, which I know some people do, it can save you quite a bit of money, because as well as I know, when you go to the grocery store and you pick something up and it's not really something that you typically get all the time, it's going to add up. So if you're on a budget, which a lot of us are, specifically around pandemic time, having a plan is really helpful. It also saves a lot of time. Now, I know some of us might have maybe a bit more time on our hands these days, or might not, with the different things that we're having to do at home with our kids, with our work, with everything else we're doing, and just trying to keep feeling okay about where we are in this pandemic. Having a plan can be helpful for time management reasons. It can improve how you consume your food and what you eat. Interestingly, this little picture reminds me of something. And several of our health coaches work this into their sessions with individuals. And working from home or remotely is so different than working from kind of at work. And one of the suggestions that they talk about is, one of the struggles people have when this whole thing started, they had to work from home, was eating everything in sight and not really a plan. So one of the strategies was pack a lunch pail or a lunch box or what you would bring to work and just eat that food. So it's kind of a plan in itself where you're not there's no limits. So just kind of consuming the food that you prepare for you is a great meal planning tip. And of course, if you're thinking about meal planning and doing it properly and keeping it easy, it can be really helpful for your own well-being. You're not having to kind of, think a few steps ahead to know what's happening next. If you have a bit of a plan or bring in a couple of little nuggets along the way, it can be helpful for you. So hopefully you'll leave today's talk with a couple of insights anyway. Okay, whoopsies, sorry. So the Health Canada came out with a new way of consuming our food back before a couple of years ago when this new way came about. They talked about serving sizes and whatnot. And so this is something that is helpful when we're talking about kind of what should our plate look like. So I actually have a plate to show you. So this is my plate that I got years ago, and it's the exact replica of how we're to consume our food visually on our plate. So if you can see here in green, half of our plate, just like on the slide, half of our plate is fruits and veg. I can tell you 100% of the time I have supper, I always have my salad or my vegetable on my plate. So before, I'd have a salad on this plate, and then I'd have my supper on this plate, and then I'd have something else, and talk about dishes. But what I learned after I had children, really, is taking my dinner plate and literally half of it, before I put the rest of my food on my plate, half of it is fruits and veg, or sorry, half of it is my salad. We have salads every night, or veggies, or some form of veg. I always have half of my plate set up that way. And then the rest kind of fits along the second half. This goes with chili and spaghetti and, you know, casserole, like in the more of the cooler weather. Don't necessarily have too much of that these days, but regardless, half of your dinner plate could be your plant-based foods. And this is something that people kind of forget about, is the whole idea of the plant-based foods, and most of us don't eat enough of them. So on lunch and dinner, if you can, even if you're at work or working from home, get your plate out and put everything that you want to eat on one plate. And that's really helpful. If you have a sandwich, put your sandwich here, cut up an apple here, and then maybe some raw vegetables here. So you can kind of see how visually it can be really helpful to do that. So I just share that with you as a bit of show and tell, because, well, that's all what I'm all about, is I love to share kind of stuff, different things that I've done that has been really beneficial to me and helpful to me. So in terms of some of the strategies, this is where we're going to get into a bit more kind of the suggestions to give you some insight. And then we'll get into a couple of the how-tos next. So one of the first strategies for successful meal planning is really having some core adaptable recipes that you are comfortable making and your family eats them. Or people that you're cooking for will eat them. So have some core recipes but you can also adapt them. And I'll share you some ideas, give some ideas in a second. The second thing is involving the family. So those of you who have children who have an interest in preparing food, this is something that we'll also share a couple of tips and tricks about. Some ideas about proteins. Meats at the grocery stores are typically, or all the time, will eat up a lot of your budget. So we've got some tips and ideas on how to shop for the right proteins and how to fit them into your plan. We have some suggestions for planning the use of leftovers, so your waste is reduced. Waste is a big issue. If you find that things are just going bad, or you're not eating at all, it's something to be aware about, and look at ways that you can possibly use them. So we'll talk about that. We have some ideas on organizing a shopping list that you might find beneficial. Some information on local seasonal foods. Again, pandemic time, it is a bit more challenging, obviously, with all of this. So what can we do, and what can we build ourselves for success? And what are some of these strategies you might be able to look for? And then on the go. So some of the better chains to consider if you are on the run. Drive-throughs, and obviously the restaurants are just opening, so some of them are still very, very much closed. So some of the things might give us, again, later on, once things start to transition back into more of an open phase, we might see more possibilities as the on-the-go side comes into play. But Before we go there, a couple of things here on core recipes. So you might remember, or you might do this yourself, where you have certain days during the week that are specific to a certain type of food. So lots of people like Taco Tuesdays, Fish Fridays, Meatless Mondays. I mean, you can really get fun with it. The whole point of this, though, is to keep it super simple. Like, find your 3 or 4 or 5 things that you make, adapt them a little bit through different veg, salad one night, some raw vegetables the next night, some steamed vegetables the next night. I mean, fish, pork, chicken, steaks, homemade burgers. I mean, the list can go on. But find your core recipes and just try to tweak them a little bit if they're getting a bit boring. So that's something that I do recommend. Adapt them though. So I know that, say with our taco night, we don't necessarily stick to a Taco Tuesday. That's a little bit more challenging for us because our kids are so active. We do always eat as a family together, but I also have to think about, if we're having to have dinner and then we're doing something after dinner, it has to be quick and easy to even clean up. So these are all things to think about when we're meal planning. I love this tip. Choose meals that you can cook in bulk. So, you know, those large, Costco has them, like those tubes of like the ground meat, or the ground meat in the family pack at the grocery store. You can separate those pretty easily. You can freeze it and then just cook half. That's one suggestion. Or cook both in different recipes. You can cook one for a spaghetti sauce. You can cook one for tacos. So I do find this to be very helpful. So you can kind of make 2 meals out of one time shopping with some of these meal plans or the family packs. Be realistic and choose meals that your family will want to eat. That's important. If you find that you're needing to make different things for different people in your family, that can get really stressful. So we want to try to make sure that, again, best case scenario, you're making one meal. I know there's some of you on this call that definitely are making different meals for different types of people in your family. Entirely up to you. But best case scenario is less work. So it's just trying to find different things that your family will all eat, and that's important. This is another tip that I mentioned a little earlier, is choosing the days of the week that you'll eat them. It makes it a little bit fun. And if the kids are involved, which is my next point, they might be able to want to help in the kitchen as well. So the second tip here is involving the family. So you want to delegate tasks, find things that they like to do. So with us, we have an island, and we do prepare salads every night. And we've actually gotten, our kids are 10 and 12 now. It's amazing how some of you on the call have been with us for a long time, so you might remember us with little ones. But anyway, they're getting older, and we've actually given them the responsibility of making our family salads now. So they're getting everything out, they're cutting everything up, they're doing it together, and we're outside the deck having a glass of wine. So it does get easier when they get a little bit older, and they're able to really contribute to the family role of meal planning and eating. So it's really helpful. If they're younger than that, obviously not going to let them have that independence, but let them choose what they want to do. So bringing kids into it is really beneficial. Some examples here. Sundays, some people really like to use Sundays as kind of like a meal planning day. They take 2 hours or 4 hours and they go shopping and they get everything done and they make everything for the week. I have never adopted that, even though there's something that a lot of people do. It's whatever works for you. The weeks are so busy, the weekends are a little bit less hectic. Shouldn't say that, they're always hectic. And trying to kind of, I kind of have a bit of a system in my schedule of ensuring I'm planning ahead, definitely, and finding different things to do. But some people love to do it on the weekend, or pick a day during the week where you kind of have a plan. So it is one, and I'll share with you a tool at the end about meal planning, and you can kind of take a look at it and see it. The third thing here, the third strategy is I'm just going to cover Jake. The third one here is being wise with our proteins. This is something that can, as I said, really eat into the budget. So you do want to think of lean cuts of meat most of the time. But there are different things you can do. Can you buy frozen? We do a lot. Can you buy, you know, when packs of chicken go on sale, do we overbuy and freeze them? We do. The same idea is trying to find the loopholes in some of the flyers to find the best prices for different meats, because meats do eat up a lot of our budgets. That's an important different suggestions on kind of getting more familiar with what things cost. And if you're going to the grocery store every single day, your budget will be that much higher. And some people argue and say, well, no, it's actually less because I only buy what I need. Totally cool if that's how you want to go about it. This is something that I like to try and go once a week. It's usually once every six days, because we eat so many raw vegetables that we do run out. So it is something that we do go a bit more frequently. But anyway, back to the meats, is you want to keep the less expensive cuts of meat, the stuff that might go on sale, or some of the different things that you might want to consider for slow cooker meals or soups, sauces, that sort of thing. So you can look at different cuts of meat and use them how you want to. If you buy fish, salmon, trout, albacore, tuna, hare, I mean, there's lots of different meats out there in terms of fish, sorry, frozen, fresh, or canned. Make sure if you do the canned, it's in water, not oil. Make sure that when you are have the frozen fish, you can cook that right from frozen. Some people think they've got to thaw it first. They don't. You can just definitely grill it. We do that all the time. And if it's fresh, obviously keep an eye on the price, because the fresh fish is definitely going to cost more. So we're very much a family of keeping things healthy but on budget. So these are different tips that we use. We're certainly not going to go with the highest quality cuts all the time, if ever. We eat very well, but it's definitely something that we watch. Like, we can get a package, a long salmon fillet frozen for about $6. So that'll do us. You know, so there's different ways around it. Plan for meatless meals. This is something else that can be beneficial, is choosing some of the nuts and seeds. We always have nuts and seeds in our pantry, and I only buy them when they're on sale. So this is, again, something that you might want to consider. Is, again, it's upping the nutritional profile of your meal, and that's something that can be beneficial for people. We also stock up on more canned than dry, but canned beans, lentils, chickpeas, black beans, lima beans, kidney beans, I mean, you name it. We have a full pantry cupboard of beans. We eat a lot of beans. They're cheap. They're versatile. You can put them in anything, and they're great for you. It's a great complete protein. So the canned beans are excellent. Just make sure you drain them really well, and water them with cold water. It gets all the preservative off, or most of it off, and then throw it in salad. One of the recipes I love is taking a can of chickpeas, using a potato squisher, if that's potato masher, and making it kind of squishy, and then adding in a bit of, like, it's almost like a tuna salad. Like, so you got your chickpeas, a little bit of mayo, maybe a bit of mustard. I put a little bit of cumin in it to make it, and some garlic powder, I should say. Mix it all up. I cut up a little bit of onion or celery, and I put that on crackers or in a pita. It's almost like, literally, it's a great, easy, cheap way of eating really healthy protein. So that's another, again, total random idea, but it's amazing. It's actually really quite good. It's great, and it's very filling. So try to find ways to use beans. They're very versatile, as I mentioned, and they're really great for us. Quinoa is also a great source of protein, although it can be pricey. So again, if you're looking at budget, quinoa is a great suggestion if that's something that you really love. Very high in protein. Now keep in mind why protein is so important. Again, just to reiterate that our proteins are important for the reasons to keep us feeling full longer. It helps with inflammation. It helps with our muscle development and keeping our muscles healthy and happy. It also keeps us, I said earlier, but keeping us feeling full or satiated longer. So if you just have, say, crackers or cereal or something without nuts or cheese or a protein base with it, it can really have you feeling hungry not too long after. So this is why this stuff is important. Eggs. Oh my goodness, we go through a lot of eggs as well. They're so versatile. You can have eggs with anything. And talk about leftovers, you can do a big omelet. Anything goes in an omelet. So there's different things, again, if there's different ways around eating healthy on a budget. I mean, I can't stress that enough, really. Leftovers. This is where, though, we can see a bit of waste, certainly, if people are struggling with this. Use it, don't lose it. So try to, when you're cooking, this is another meal planning tip, is if you can think of doubling or tripling the recipe, in thinking of, especially if your whole family likes to eat it, it might get a bit boring after a couple of days, but regardless, if you have any versatility and say that big tube of ground meat, say at Costco, where it's a big one, cut it into four sections, and then you can have, literally, talk about a meal plan day. You could make sauce, chili, and taco meat. Eat your taco meat and then freeze the other two or keep it in the fridge. You've got kind of a rotating schedule of meals. So try to think of ways to really optimize your time in the kitchen, and that's another great tip. Estimate servings and cook extra. I just mentioned that. Anticipate using, I love this. This is what we do. So if we do a chicken, so you know those family chicken breast packs with either bone in or bone out, I get whatever's the cheapest. Sometimes I get the bags of chicken that have the skin on. I've got to take the skin off, and it's not a fun job, but it's cheaper, and then I throw it on the barbecue. But if there's leftovers, we actually also buy those. You can buy the white or whole, we use the multigrain, but the multigrain shells, pizza shells at the grocery store, 2 come in a package, and they're awesome. I often, and it also comes with its own pizza sauce. So I put the pizza sauce on it. I take the leftover meat, pork, chicken, burger meat, ham, whatever we're eating. And I often, with any of the leftover meats, I sprinkle all of this meats and veggies and sauce and cheese on these pizza shells, throw it in the oven, and there's another meal. So it definitely reduces the waste. And those kits, I'm a food basic shopper, so those kits, I'm sure, can be found in your grocery store, but they're awesome. They taste great. They're not spongy. It's a really nice way to use your leftovers. And this is the suggestion for sandwiches, but I had to tell you the pizza story because we love pizza. So start small. Don't overload your plate. This is the suggestion, and that's why I brought my plates with me. But if you find that you are overeating or over-consuming food, and you're wasting a lot, start on a smaller plate. And again, half your plate veg, and then smaller portions of the remaining parts of your meal. Whether it's a small plate or a large plate, assess if it's just too much. And that's important. It's because, again, if you take more than what you need, or your family does, or whoever's eating with you, it can lead to loss of waste. So just keep that in mind. Freeze what you want. Keep the leftover veggies for different things you're wanting to cook. That definitely goes without saying. Frozen fruit is ideal for different smoothies, so you can kind of really see how you can use leftovers and not waste a whole lot. So that's important. This one, the last one, is a great idea. If you have lots of leftovers in the fridge, you can almost do a leftover buffet. And people can kind of pick and choose what they'd like to do and like to eat. And my whole point on omelets, anything goes. So there are different things that you can plan for kind of duplicating or kind of having your foods versatile and kind of working them the way you want. Minimize waste is the biggest point of this section. So in terms of some of the shopping lists and organizing of your list and whatnot, you want to make a master list. I mean, typically, if you're the shopper in the family, you know what some of the different staples that you would need. And here's another tip, is when you're going to the grocery store, make it 20 minutes or less. I'd be interested to know how many on the call are kind of fit within that parameter of 20 minutes or less. A lot of people who kind of know exactly what they need can be in and out quick. Other people like to saunter, see what's on sale, see what's going on, try different things. Totally up to you. But if you can think of it as an efficient trip to the grocery store, know exactly what you need. And obviously a list, don't have to tie that, is important. But obviously you've got your staples, your olive oil, your salad dressings, your different seasonings and spices and herbs you like. Obviously the milk, eggs, breads, cheeses, produce, and meats. And then the rest, as I just mentioned, all of that is on the perimeter of the grocery store. And then all the aisles are kind of, I often bypass the aisles because I go down the cracker aisle and I'll go down the cereal aisle, of course. But I'm bypassing a lot of those aisles because it's something it's not what I need. It's not on my list. And unless I need something down those aisles, I don't go. So it's again something to be consider of your time, because you don't want to be in there for too long. Okay, so things like, there's different apps that you might heard of the word Flip, or the app Flip. It's an app that can keep track of pricing for different things. Digital flyers. There's different things out there now that we can leverage to make the best decisions for your family. One of the most expensive things that we have on our grocery in our house, really, when it comes to staple, is peanut butter. So we love, well, my son can't eat it, but the rest of us do. The all-natural peanut butters is what we get. Now, as you can probably recall, they're quite pricey at the grocery store. So we often get, and I should have had one to show you, but a green label Kraft, not green label. It's an all-natural peanut only peanut butter. So you get oil on the top, and anyway, they're quite pricey. It's like almond butter, similar thing. Anyway, those are the types of things we watch on the flyers. When are they going down less than $3.99? When are they going down to $2.99? When they get down that low, which they do, again on the cycle, we pick up 6 or 10 of them, and we have peanut butter for a good long time. The thing with those healthy fats, they last quite a long time. Check the expiry date, of course, but these are different tips for meal planning reasons and shopping reasons that you just want to make sure that that you can kind of keep track of what you're doing. Great tip, organize your list by aisle. That's really helpful. If you go to the same grocery store, you know where everything is anyway. So you might not need that, but it's something to just be aware of. And then I've got some ideas on apps to show you at the end. Not going to spend too much time talking about this one. Supporting local and eating seasonal, great suggestions. Again, it does come down to your time, your budget, what you like to eat. Different ways we can support our local farmers, which is more important now than ever, obviously. But we can look for ways in some of the markets to find cheaper, fresher, and tastier foods. And again, the apple is a perfect example. Apples right now are astronomically high because they're not in season. In season is kind of the fall. So we do find the apples taste better, they're cheaper when it does come down to the season. So you can pick your own. I mean, there's lots of different things that we can do. But again, just keep that as a bit of a check mark in your mind, as a nugget to take away, if you will, is eat local and seasonal as much as you can, just because it can help us as a local economy as well. Okay, so the last step in this sort of 7-step suggestion for 7 steps of success is plan for when you're actually on the go. Now, obviously, when we're talking now, pandemic time, and kind of getting into our, our normal routines, so to speak, or a real, I don't even like the word new normal. It's more of a reality right now, is we're not really probably out, restauranting or going out for dinner with friends. We're not doing that right now. So this sort of information may resonate in sort of the drive-through arena, but it won't necessarily resonate right now with going out and dining. But it will eventually. I mean, when this all passes. So the thing is when you're on the road, you're traveling for work, you're traveling for your kids, you're commuting to, long commute into work if you're back or when you will be coming back, you want to make sure that you are prepared. And this is all part of meal planning, is not just planning on Sunday and having your meals ready. It's really thinking ahead. And if we can think ahead when we're on the go, it's beneficial. So make sure that you're very aware of, to the minute, how long it takes you to get from point A to point B if you're a commuter. Pack some great little snacks for the car. Nothing is wrong with that. Just make sure that they don't spoil if it's a hot day. We do have handout that did come with this webinar, so you'll be able to see some of the suggestions. I do have some ideas coming up. And then different ideas on healthy on the road options. So rely on restaurants with healthier options. I mean, there's plenty, but there's just a few there. Starbucks, Chipotle, Qdoba, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, Subway, Wendy's. You can also find some healthier options, Freshie, any of the markets, grocery stores even. I mean, so many different times where we'd have a soccer tournament, we'd literally go to the grocery store, and they usually have a place to sit, and we would buy a bunch of healthy food, and we would sit and make sandwiches and eat our fruits and veggies and whatever else. So instead of going to a restaurant, you can do that at the grocery store. So you're allowing yourself to eat healthy, and it saves a lot of money in the long run. So just to kind of think about that, if you're on a budget like everybody, think of that. A couple of other suggestions here, this is all in your handout, but I'm substituting a salad, chili, or broth-based soup instead of a burger or sandwich. It's easier said than done. I get it. I like the odd sandwich or, French fry or what have you, but I always pair it with the vegetable. So it's something kind of like a give and take balance thing. Choose lean meats, good option. Load up on the veggies. If you go to Subway, ask for more veggies, more veggies, more veggies, more veggies. They only give you so many. So I often find loading up is a good option. Grilled options versus deep fried is another good suggestion. It just cuts out a lot of that extra fat, salt, and stuff that we shouldn't be eating too often. So I'm watching your sodium intake. So now I want to kind of spend the next couple of minutes here on some tools that you might find helpful. And this is something that we'll be able to share a little bit on, kind of some smart swaps using the new guide as a visual. Healthy portable snacks for those car rides if you're commuting back and forth, if you're going somewhere eventually, if you're needing to travel somewhere. We also have a bit of a meal planner template that I'll give you just as a bit of an at a glance. There's lots of them out there. You can certainly Google any of them. And then I've got a few apps that, if you like the digital kind of technology suggestions, there might be an app for that. That was a little bit corny, but so if there are any questions for you that you're finding, any questions at all, please answer, please ask. There's lots of time here in the Q&A box, or there's a chat box that's okay, so the first strategy here when we're talking about this building your toolbox. So we've talked about kind of the 7 steps to successful meal planning. Now we're getting into kind of some of your meal planning toolboxes that you might find kind of helpful. As I mentioned, bring this up again. This is the way visually that it's definitely recommended that we consume our food. A lot of us don't get half of our plate. A lot of us don't get enough vegetables and fruits as it is. I mean, those of you on the call, if you were to tell me how many servings of fruits and veg you get a day, I mean, back in the day, we were supposed to get what, 5 to 7, 10 servings of fruits and veg. And I think that visually now we can really look at our dinner plates or meal plates and visually have half of that plate veggies. That might mean small plate. Remember, it might mean large plate. Whatever plate you're using at home, half your plate, make sure it's veggie. That is the biggest takeaway of this particular tool. Okay, so make sure that. Now, I know some of you are going to email me after and say, Meaghan, where'd you get this plate? I got it at a health fair or health show, I mean, 2 decades ago. I have no idea. It does, diabeaters.com is on the back. Who knows if they still have it? But anyway, it's a really great tool. I use it all the time for purposes like this. When I'm on site, it's a lot different because I can actually hand things out and do a whole bunch of different things. Anyway, so 50% veggies and fruit, 25% whole grains, 25% meat and alternatives. So when I'm presenting, we do talks all over the place, and you know, I find I do this talk and you know, for say manufacturing firms and different groups that you know, they love, I shouldn't say love, I'm stereotyping, but half of the plate steak, there's like tiny little bit of broccoli, if any, and like heaps of mashed potatoes. Like some of us probably grew up that way with the meat and potatoes. This is a change in what I think society is trying to tell us, is that we're not eating enough of the plant-based foods. So how can we move to that route, move to that a bit more so, and visually seeing what we're putting on our plate is one of those ways. So that's why I wanted to bring that up again. Plant-based proteins. We just talked about that in the beans and how versatile the beans are. What recipes can we make with beans? And what can we put in different recipes that call for meats? Could we use beans instead, or could we add beans on top of it? If your kids or if your spouses or anyone in your family is picky, can you squish up the beans and make them disappear, kind of visually? So there's different tricks and strategies. Limit processed foods, prepare food at home when possible. One of the newest also recommendations is limiting our dairy. I mean, I think that there is benefit in having dairy in our diets for certain. Some people have the allergen of lactose can be bothersome for more people now, I think, than really ever before. So that's probably one of the reasons why the governments are saying this. But regardless, yogurts, milks, almond milk, necessarily dairy, but it gives you there's lots of options now. I'd be remiss if I didn't say stay hydrated, obviously. But foods higher in fat, calories, and sugar really should be absent from your plate. Obviously, that 80-20 rule was the first thing I talked about when we started. 80% of the time, if we're able to think of our meal planning and our consumption of healthy foods to be good, 20% of the time is kind of that time frame where you can have whatever you want. Like, it's a suggestion, it's a guideline. I kind of, when I'm on stage or when I'm doing a talk, I talk with the 80-20 rule, and I say 70-30, 60-40, hell, 50-50. Regardless, is at least 51-49. So being aware of healthier options, which a lot of you are already, is just a helpful suggestion. Okay, let's continue here. Enough of that. Oops. Looks like it might be frozen. There we go. This is on your handout. This just gives you some ideas on some smart swaps. So we do have some of the healthier options on the left-hand side and some of the foods that we might consume on the right-hand side. Swapping them here and there is a great idea, just to give you also some variety. And also, there's a piece on our tastes and our taste buds and how they adapt to certain foods and new foods. So these are all tips and thoughts on kind of how can we expand our palate. And if we haven't tried yams or sweet potatoes before, or we had them when we were a kid and we hated them, try them again. you might enjoy them. I often, this is a recipe that I love, is I take the sweet potatoes, I take the skin off, I cut them into small cubes, throw them in a bowl, olive oil, garlic powder, mix them all up, throw them on a cookie sheet, and roast them. Delicious. No extra brown sugar or anything like that. They're so sweet. If you like sweet things, it's a really great thing. Anyway, having that with a chicken or fish, or as I said earlier, those salmon fillets that I get frozen for $6, really easy to throw on your grill or on the barbecue. It cooks beautifully. And these are different ways, again, we can stay budget conscious. The sweet potatoes go on sale at different times. They last for a long time. So finding out different things you want to try that won't break your budget is the whole purpose of meal planning, and trying to do it in a way that's not going to cause you stress when you're needing to go to the grocery store. Get your staples, go down the right aisles that you need to go down, stick to the perimeter of the store, and just go down and pick the cereals, the crackers, and whatever else you need down those aisles as infrequently as you can. And then that will sort of keep your budget happy as well. So anyway, there's lots of different things here. The very bottom there, frozen pizza with whole wheat crust, chicken, vegetables. Pizzas are really easy for busy families, people who just want to kind of pair it with a salad or pair it with some vegetables. That's what we often do once a week, is do a pizza. As I said before, with my leftover piece, if I've got chicken or veggies or something that I want to put on, sort of don't want to waste and throw away, I do get those 2 shells I talked about in those packages that you can just throw a bit of pizza sauce and then throw your veggies and your meat on there. And it's a really great way to use your leftovers. So if you're not a fan of they're a lot smaller now, if you've noticed, than any of the frozen pizzas. Delicio's is one that we like, but have a nice big salad with it. Again, half your plate veg, and then put your pizza on the other side. So these, again, are just little tips for you as we continue here. I love this. This gives you a couple of ideas for healthy portable snacks. Now, this will become, I think, important. I think even now, if you're working remotely and you have sort of an endless collection, maybe your grocery budgets are higher now because everyone's home and eating more. I do recommend, and all of our health coaches have recommended, of packing a lunch in the morning like you would normally going to work, and only eating what is in that bag, or only eating what's in that lunch box. It's a really great way to, again, plan, but also stay within your limits of your consumption of food. So that's important, is thinking about that. There's different snacks here that you can kind of pair. And the reason why we're pairing them is because the best formulation for optimal energy through your day is a carbohydrate matched with a protein or healthy fat eaten together. So if you can focus on your snacks and different things you're eating, and ensuring that you have the benefit of both worlds, the energy with your carbohydrates, but also the proteins and healthy fats to keep you feeling full longer, you're not going to be craving those higher sugar, higher fat, higher salt foods as much. It's never going to go away, maybe necessarily, unless it's Lent and you're giving it up for 40 days, which is always a helpful thing. But if you can look about how you compare some of these portable snacks, that's how we have them laid out this way, is the left with the right. Now, I want to direct your attention to the bottom. Granola bars, protein bars, homemade muffins, homemade protein bars, whatever the case may be. Homemade is more challenging to know what the nutritional profile might look like. But anything you buy, this is a really nifty rule. It's a 5-5-10 rule. 5 grams of fiber, less than 5 grams of saturated fat, and 10 grams of protein is ideal. Let me repeat that. It should be on your handout too. 5 grams of fiber, less than 5 grams of fat, and 10 grams of protein is a great option. Now, you might not necessarily get that. You might also find this other rule: 5 grams of fiber, less than 5 grams of fat, and less than 10 grams of sugar to be a little bit easier to find. So some of the ones that you might be familiar with, the Nature Valley is one with pretty high sugar. The Kashi brand, there's a Kashi bar that is less than 10 grams of sugar, so that's another option for us. The protein bars, that's where we start to get into higher sugar. Yes, you're going to get more protein, but your sugar content is going to be probably really high. So again, you can also make these at home. I make energy balls that are just oats, honey, peanut butter, and sunflower seeds. Like, that's all that is. I mix it all up, I roll it in my hand and throw them in the freezer. And if I have some chocolate chips, I'll throw those in there too. So you can really get creative very cheaply with things that you have in your pantry. You don't have to go buy, you know, a higher sugar or a higher fat protein bar or granola bar. You can make them yourself. So again, these are different ways we can sort of, again, make our budgets kind of flow a little bit deeper. So there are different apps. This is a very small abbreviated list, and I encourage you to, if you like to follow recipes, if you like to kind of check out what the digital world is allowing in terms of some apps and different, I know that there's different apps out there that you can type in what you have in your fridge and it'll pop out a recipe for you to try. I think that's brilliant. You might, I know PC used to have one where you'd kind of plug in some of the ingredients and they would kind of give you some ideas on ideas for meals. There's different ones out there, certainly. So get creative, and you never know, you might find some benefit in that. I can honestly tell you, been doing this for a long time, I've never done that. I have my staples, I've got my core recipes, I adapt them as I've talked about in the first part of the talk. And these are, again, different things. I think get with the tech times. People are doing it a little bit more. So what's ever going to help you stay organized and focused on eating, you know, 70–80% of the time well, and then enjoying things a little bit more. So so you're not 100% and then 0% doing nothing. You want to try and allow yourself that flexibility, because you're going to need it. You know, everyone loves their own favorite food every now and again. So make sure you allow yourself to go with that. So I don't know if this is in your handout or not. It might be. If it's not, we can definitely get it to you. This is a weekly planner guide that we just built as part of this. Oh, shoot. Sorry, about this talk. It does give you some blanks and spots, so you can make your own, certainly, and you can even download. There's a lot nicer ones out there. This is just ours that our health coaches use with some of their health coaching participants, where they actually jot down a meal plan for them. It's meal planning is something where you actually write it down, and there's standard ones. There's no such thing. So if you're interested in building your own meal plan, connect with us and we'll set you up with one of the health coaches, because this is something that if one were to, I don't even like the word prescribe, but jot down a guide and it not fit with what you like, your budget, the food that you consume normally, it makes zero sense. So this, I've literally given 5 different ideas of breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks that you can kind of see how we're sort of positioning our fruits, our veg, our grains, our healthy proteins, our healthy fats for a day. Okay, so this just gives you some ideas. Again, this could be kind of like a seasonal, or sorry, a sample day. It's like a Taco Tuesday, if that's kind of the direction you want to go with it. We've got different ideas. Again, we talked about the fruit smoothies, that any fruit that's going bad in your fridge, throw in the freezer and use it for your smoothies in the morning. Add in some greens if you want to. Add in some, again, we didn't talk too much about different seeds to put in there. Hemp seed is the one that we can, I often get this and throw in, or ground flax seeds, and I throw it in the freezer and just keeps them nice and cold and fresh, and you don't have to worry about them going rancid. So I often put all of those sort of packs of seeds in the freezer. So it's just a little tip. And lunches, half your plate veg for lunch and dinner. That's a huge tip that hopefully will resonate with some, if not all of you, is having half of your plate plant-based foods. Don't forget that, and put it all on one plate. I found that to be really helpful after I was trying to lose my baby weight after my second child. As soon as I was finished nursing her, I really wanted to focus in on my my portions and my plate. So I've really found great help in putting everything on one plate. So again, another nugget for one of you or some of you that you've never heard that before, do it. I promise you, you're going to eat less of the other stuff and more of the plant-based foods. So it's a really great option. Dinners, again, different things with our meats. We talked about how the more expensive cuts for special occasions, the less expensive cuts for your sauces, your meats, your slow cookers. Many of us are going to be using slow cookers or whatnot these days, but later on in the fall and into the winter, keep that in mind. Keep an eye on those flyers too. There's definitely benefit in keeping an eye on what goes on sale. Snacks, again, you'll see here a combination of proteins with fats and carbohydrates, depending again on your how you want to go about it. The snack one there has boiled egg and some avocado. You might need something else with that, or separate out the egg and the avocado. That might be just a bit too much for your stomach to handle. Sometimes if we're eating higher amounts of protein or higher amounts of healthy fats, our digestion can be a little bit, it can get off kilter a little bit sometimes. And so you might feel more bloat, a little bit more uncomfortable. So that's just a bit of an indication that was a bit too much that day. I love this combination though, is like an apple, a nectarine, a pear, something that has a skin. The fruits that have skin provide more of a fiber content. So yes, we love our watermelon, and yes, we love our cut up melon and the different things. Absolutely, go with it. A huge amount of water in those specific fruits, but the ones that you eat kind of as snack, let's say in the morning you pack your quote unquote lunch pail, and that's the food you eat for the week, for the day. And you pack a you pack an apple or a nectarine or a pear. Anything with the skin is a good thing. So don't get rid of that. The skin, again, fiber helps our bowels, helps us stay full longer time. It's a really great way to keep our blood sugars a bit more stable as well during the day. Kind of limits the ups and downs of that need for sugar. So just a couple of tips and tricks there. And then almonds, walnuts are two really great sources of seeds, nuts and seeds that are also healthy in omega fats. So, I mean, I know that we've talked now for 55 minutes on nutrition, meal planning, and keeping things efficient and budget friendly. This is being recorded, as I mentioned earlier. Now, one of the things I wanted to just remind you about is the Stay Safe Stay Healthy web portal that we have been adding to every week since March 13th, since when COVID took over the world. We built a web portal that has all of the stuff, the tools, the recipes, the tips, the meditation workouts, the yoga classes, you'll see Rose doing a core workout, dance routine. I mean, we have so much information on their Stay Safe Stay Healthy website. It's simply www.ewsnetwork.com/Stay Safe Stay Healthy. Everything is there. Nutrition, mindful eating, mindful movement, self-care, gratitude. There's tons of stuff. And we wanted to make sure that that's where this is going to be actually housed, the recording. So you will be directed to it. Heather Barrett, our Director of Program Management, is looking after ensuring that you're familiar with where everything is. So peruse that site. It is awesome. They've done a great job in kind of keeping some really great tips and tricks for you. So all of this will be on that site. So you'll be able to ensure that you know where that is as well. So I'm going to open it now up to any questions questions, comments, anything that you'd like to ask, keep in mind you can send a question to me directly. You can also, which I'll just sort of read out and share with the team here if it's applicable to any of the content chatted about today. So I'll leave it open for a minute or so, and if there aren't any questions, then we can definitely log off and we can have the recording up for you. So we'll just leave it open for another, if there are any questions that you might have. So I've got a personal note here. Oh, you're welcome. Let me just, and there was a point on the apps. Hold on. Let's see if I can, this one? Is this one the meant? Okay. So these are some of the list of the apps that you might find beneficial, like kind of searching, Googling to get a bit more information how they work. It's something that you can definitely take a look at. So All Recipes Dinner Spinner, Meal, I don't know if that's mealtime or if that's supposed to be like that. That's a good point. I'll have to double check that. Yumly, Food Print, Pepper Plate, and Flip. Flip is that one that matches the different grocery stores for best prices and different things. So anyway, just a couple of different things for you. Yes, so all of the question about the swaps, the healthy options, those are on the, I believe, the webinar handout that we did circulate for this. If not, it'll be on the recording with this particular presentation on the Stay Safe - Stay Healthy website. So you'll be able to download that, no problem. It has all of this information on there. So make sure that you take a look at that. Okay, so there's not been any more questions come through. So thanks for listening. We're really grateful to be able to do these on a weekly basis. We are going to continue doing these for this month and into September, I believe. I think that's our executive decision, is to keep up with some of these presentations. We've been doing a whole bunch of them. So workshop like this is one version of what we've been doing. We've been doing meditation, mindfulness, yoga, exercise classes, workshops, positive thinking, some really great stuff that's come out. So we are definitely interested in hearing your feedback on participation in some of this stuff. So feel free to send us. We'd love to hear from you. And we often share feedback, good or bad, within our leadership team. So we definitely will keep it internal. So let us know how you're doing. And we really encourage you to, those of you on the call with health coaching, reach out to the health coaches. They're here for you. And we'll be able to provide you with whatever direction you need. So we will end there. Have a great rest of your Wednesday, and I look forward to seeing you hopefully soon. That's the goal. Have a great day. Thanks, everybody.